In this video, we will show different methods of customizing Qt Quick Controls styles. In the application already shown on the screen, we will customize styles for each of the remaining buttons in the center of the application using 4 different style customization methods. Let's navigate to the buttons defined within a grid in our main QML file. We'll pick up where we left off in the last video and start with the third button. We will customize the button style in place. To do this, let's first modify the background property of our control. We'll bind the background property to a new rectangle component that has some properties defined. Our rectangle will contain an ID so we can reference it outside of the component, an implicit width and height, a radius of 4 to display some rounded edges, a color of magenta, a border color of dark magenta, and a border width of 1. With the background property set, we will see some style changes for our button based on the properties defined in the rectangle object. Let's take this one step further and add some signal handlers, onPressed and onReleased. In the onPressed signal handler, we will add an assignment to change the background rectangle color to light blue, and in the onReleased signal handler, we can add another assignment to change the color back to magenta. This will allow us to visualize a mouse click better. We can also change the text property of this button to identify it. Now let's run the program and see our button style that was defined in place. If we click the button, we can also see the background color updating accordingly. Next, we can try another style customization method on another button. For this button style, we will make a new custom component called MyButton. To create a MyButton definition, we will create a new QML file by using the new file wizard. We also need to make sure this component was properly added to our CMake lists txt file in the Qt add QML module command. We want to base the style of our MyButton off the existing button control for a Qt Quick Controls style. For our example, we will use the basic style. We can open a new file in Qt Creator and navigate to our Qt install directory. Select our Qt version directory and compiler directory, navigate to QML, then Qt Quick, then Controls, and finally select the basic style directory. In this directory, there are QML files that consist of all the existing controls for that style. Let's open the button. Button consists of a template for our button control, which defines the properties that make up the appearance of the default button for the basic style. Since we want to use this as a base for our custom component, we can simply copy the existing code into our mybutton.qml. Note that you can define the mybutton.qml style from scratch as well. These templates are, however, designed with the intention of being modified. Now that we have copied in the existing template, let's make a modification to make our MyButton look different. Within the background property rectangle, let's change the color to be orange by default. With that modification made, we can go back to our main.qml and change the next button in the grid to be a MyButton. We can also change the text property of this button to identify it. After that change, we can run the program and see an orange button in the grid, which is our MyButton with a custom style. The next method of style customization is defining a styled component in its own namespace. This method is very similar to the last method and can be used if the desired behavior is to still refer to the component by its original name within a namespace rather than a new custom component. Let's again take the template for button from the basic style and copy it. We can now add a new QML file to the project by right-clicking on the project and selecting Add New. In this case, we will add a new button in a new directory called Controls. Remember to make sure this component was properly added to our CMake file. At this point, we can copy the existing code from button into this new file inside the Controls directory. We'll make a small change to the style so we know this is our custom styled button. For this one, we'll again change the color property within the background of the control to be yellow and green when the control is pressed down. Now that our button has been defined within the Controls directory, we can navigate to our main.qml file. At the top of the main.qml file, we can import the namespace with the line import controls as myControls. With the namespace controls imported as myControls, we can now directly refer to a button from within that directory. So, let's navigate back to our button, and rather than change the name of the component itself, we change the namespace from which this button exists. We'll change it to mycontrols.button. When we run the program, we should see the button, QML, from our controls namespace being used. The final method of customizing controls is defining a custom style import. This is done by creating an entirely new style which contains at least one QML file, utilizes the proper template convention, and contains a QML dir file. To do this, let's create a new folder called MyStyle with a QML file in it. We'll call the file button.qml. Let's also add an empty file to this directory before moving forward, and we'll call it CMakeLists.txt. Every module is required to have a CMake file. Opening that new CMakeLists.txt file, we can add a Qt add QML module command to create the module and a QML dir file, along with the URI, version number, and a QML file section which contains the button QML file we have created. We'll also add the Qt add library command, along with set target properties and target link libraries. Our module is nearly complete, but first let's navigate to our top-level CMake file. Rather than adding the button QML file to the existing module, we are making an entirely new module. At this point, all that is remaining is to add the add subdirectory command to our CMakeLists.txt so our additional module can be located. Now our module is configured correctly. We can access the button and define our style similarly to our previous examples. In this one, we will change the color border property and border width property within the background to be purple and have a border width of 2. Our style is customized at this point, and the only things we need to do is select the style. We can do this at compile time or runtime like any other style. Let's import our new style at compile time by simply adding the line import myStyle to our main.qml. This will result in this button style being the selected style for all button components in this QML file. Let's also change the name of the final button in the grid to custom style before running the application. This concludes all the videos for the Styles course. Thank you for watching.